but I'm gonna probably chop off the very beginning of this, so don't worry about that. All right.
Oh,
My little sound volume's jumping up like it should. Yours is too. Okay.
all right.
Uh, yeah, man.
Well,
Let's just get started. Sorry, everybody. This is Mr. Benja's ADD Experience Live. I am. I said live. This is one of the first recorded ones that I have here. So I just lied to you. Just not the live version. I've got
just
with me.
checking out some periodicals here. I don't know. What
Yes,
kind of
I
way?
love it.
Okay.
No, that's one of my zines. That's great. I love that. I actually have two copies of that left, and I can't find them. There's there's somewhere they might be in that bookshelf or something. So I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
man. If you need a high quality scan, I've got plenty of zines and stuff over here.
awesome.
So
Uh,
Lon, hey, what's going on, dude? How's it been, man? What do
it's
you have a drink? I got a drink. You said you might get a drink. Cheers,
no.
man.
I saw you drinking on your side, and I was like, you know what? Um, John Diaz, who runs the Out of Play Area podcast, he has a habit of, you know, consuming a beverage of some sort on his podcast. And I like that. And it
Oh,
actually brought me back to the original Payal podcast with Raphael. And
okay.
when we were sitting around doing our very, very first podcast, way back in the day when you had to FTP your files to a server, back in that day, he would bring, he was a bartender, so he would bring in some drinks for us and we'd have a good time and kick it up. So
Oh,
I
dude,
saw
I
it.
remember coming down there for one of those podcasts that I was on there and, like hanging out and yeah, doing the whole there was a long preparation before starting, mixing all these drinks and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, dude, so I got this, dude. I wanted to mention this was a Rainer beer up here in Washington. It's like they call this thing Vitamin R, man. It's like the go-to, like cheap beer.
Vitamin R. I
Like,
love
yeah,
it.
man, gotta have some vitamin R tonight.
Cool, man. Cool. Yeah, so I got this for Comic-Con week in the con season. Stone actually puts out this Falker Imperial Star Falker IPA. It's got the little Star Trek font on it and everything. So
Oh,
I'm rocking
nice.
with that right now. And yeah, this is my
Dude,
last.
Stone Brewery, man. Yeah, they're great, man. I missed that about living down in Southern California, man. That brewery when I was in Carlsbad, going over there was awesome.
Was it a part of your creative experience?
I think so, man. I think that's it encourages you to get some ideas going after visiting that place and eating some good food, drinking some good drinks, and they would always be like a locally sourced everything. The one of the first times I ran across that idea of just like even like the meat and stuff is like locally sourced, or usually it's like you go to the restaurant, it's like I don't know where this stuff is coming from, man. Like something to think about.
Totally, yeah. I was talking with Tomo Moriwaki, and he's the chief creative officer over at Hyperkinetic Games, and he was telling me how they have a whole process of going out and not drinking to get away from work, but this whole social thing where you're working, you're eating and drinking together, you're hanging out at the bar, and they even created a game called Epic Tavern that was kind of based around that
Nice.
concept. So I was like, wow, okay, that's pretty cool.
Dude, that is a part of the creative process. I think if you're with a group of people, like if you're working together in an office, you got to be able to go out and drink. And that's where a lot of like social things and ideas come up and stuff like that, and bonds are built. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of alcohol actually, but it's certain, it's kind of undeniable. There's like a certain amount of like creatives. I don't know. It's just a classic thing. I remember certain people would, oh, like let's just stop everything and go to the bar in the middle of the day or something like that, or at least have a ritual like Friday night. Everybody at this office like work at, brings a beer, hangs out and stuff like that. And it's like without that, like the team is kind of like not quite tight enough knit, man,
Yeah,
and quite vibe enough together. So I feel like that type of stuff It's an
Now
important part of a creative project, man.
so, some people who don't understand, they might be like, "That sounds very dysfunctional," but I'm all here for it. Uh, so you, did you ever? Because we worked at Rockstar Games together, did you
Oh,
ever go out with, Gordon and his crew?
yeah, well, that's kind of what was the thing I was thinking about there is, yeah, and he was like always like wax poetic about they had a pub across the street or whatever, and how they would always go to the pub. And he was like a big guy, proponent of this, everybody going out to the pub and stuff like that. But he was like, oh, maybe taking it a little too far, and I don't know.
Um, well, rest his soul, he actually passed away a little while ago, but
Yeah, rest
he,
in peace, man. I can't believe I heard about that. That's sad.
yeah, he was an interesting force. We actually butted heads quite a few times on a development level and a social level, but that's not to say anything about him as a person and what he was trying to do. And the thing that he brought to me, at least, was that definitely getting together a team of people and getting them in this situation where they're developing and they're creating. And there's this freedom to like being able to walk up to your friend and be like, "Hey, can you open up this character?" Uh-huh. Yeah, it's complete bullshit. You know that, right? And everybody's like, well, what do you think's wrong with this? Like this, and this. Man, I did it because of X, Y, and Z. Well, we're trying to make this and that. And he created this atmosphere where we could go out and drink. And when I started going out to Carl Strauss, that was the little pub, we go out to Carl Strauss and he'd start bringing up these things. And I was confused. I was like, why are we talking about work when this is supposed to be an after work thing? He was like, no, it's all kind of together. You can get out your ideas. Maybe you don't have time to talk to the art director or whatever. Now you can do it. Everybody can kind of interact on any different level across game, across discipline, across rank or whatever. So I started getting
Mm.
into that style, and that was one of the great things I picked up from Rockstar and getting drunk on the company's dime, basically.
Oh, yeah, no, that's great, dude. The idea of, yeah, anybody could kinda go up to anybody. Sometimes it's just like, "Oh, I'm a kid in QA," and it's like, "Dude, I had this crazy idea about the audio, so I'm gonna go mention it to this, audio programmer." The only time is at, like, maybe some company party or something where you're all hanging out and drinking. But I gotta say, although the other side of this is, like, when I was, like, like, I'm, like, kind of a nerd. I'm in, like when I was in my young 20s, I'm like drugs and alcohol and stuff. Like I'm not a lot of people in at least gaming are kind of just like trying to be straight edge and kind of like look down on that or just like, oh, I'm not going to go out drinking. I'm going to go home. And then you miss out on all this stuff, unfortunately. And it's kind of unfortunate in a way. It's like even like the with like the crunch time thing. It's like I'm gonna be legitimate and go home exactly at 7 PM or whatever. But then it's like the one night you happen to be there till like 10 o'clock at night, like talking to the other guy like super late, like that's when the real magic happens, man.
Exactly. I Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's when where the magic happens. Um, Especially when there's a small amount of people and you've got to stay late, but you can get an expense report to go buy food. And if there was like five of us, they're like, hey, there's only five of us here. We can go get the the jumbo sushi platter from, this late night restaurant out in La Jolla. They stay up until 11 o'clock. And say, really? Yeah. So, yeah, the sushi restaurant's like, "You kidding me? You're calling for a sushi platter at, like, 10:55 at night? We're about to close." I was like, "Too bad, we got a game to build, buddy."
The creative process, man, the design process, sometimes the design, is too much for reality, man. It's got I hope that
Oh my god, I love that. The design is too much for reality, so you have to start being unrealistic. I love it. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, no, there's something to that, dude. Some designs are just too far out there or ahead of their time or something. But yeah, that's how things change, man, and like get pushed forward and stuff. Like what's going on today with some NFTs and stuff like that, man. But Dude, I was jumping over to NFTs and stuff real quick.
Well,
Sorry to swear.
well, no, no, no. We'll definitely get into NFTs.
But yeah,
That's a discussion.
okay, we'll get
Um,
more.
so, so what I want to know really quickly, people know that we work together at Rockstar Games. How did you end up starting there and getting your development experience going? Where did you start from?
Yeah, man, I basically started there, dude. I was just in QA like many other people who started and everything. But after many years, it was like, or actually, I think a lot of my interaction with the design team from QA was with you. So I gotta thank you for that because I remember you'd be willing to like hang out with the QA guys and talk about the deep, nitty gritty details and stuff like that, balance and stuff like that. But yeah, no. After that, I went into
Wait, hold on.
mobile games, man.
But uh, so were you just like living in California and said, I wanna be a game tester or QA for games, and you walked up to
Yeah,
Rockstar?
man. Well, that's the thing. I was like, okay, this is like the late '90s. I'm like, okay, I want to make games, but then like you go to the people in school, and it's like that wasn't a structured thing at the time. Where nowadays it's like they from the same kid to kids are in elementary school. It's like, oh yeah, programming and stuff. But for me, it was like there was no real such structure. So I just like went to a junior college in Irvine, where I grew up in Southern California, and then I got the job in QA, and it was just like, okay, let's go from there. Basically, yeah, man. And then that was my college was basically working at Rockstar.
Nice,
That was
nice.
my college experience, and yeah, that's how a lot of it is. People are so young, and it's just like, okay, yeah, no big deal. Oh, we gotta stay up till 1 a.m. to get the new build. No big deal, man. I got nothing going on.
So what year did you start? I started in 2003. Late
Oh
2003,
man,
I started.
I don't know. I'd have to check, but basically it was like the PlayStation 2 days for Midnight Club 3. Um, yeah, late days of the PlayStation 2, and then when the Xbox started coming out, and Xbox 360 started coming out, and stuff like that. But yeah,
Okay.
that was a good time, man. And then table tennis was like my second project, basically.
Okay, okay, that makes sense because, yeah, so you must have gotten there a little before me, and because I got there, was messing around on Agent, and actually, I'm not sure because I might have been there a little before you if you're saying you started on the PS2 business because I was there working on Agent.
Okay,
The,
yeah, that was probably before me. I just heard some whispers of that or something.
okay, okay, so I was there before you then. It's funny, Agent is still on the only reason I mentioned Agent and actually talk about it is because there's still a stub website for it. You go to
Oh,
rockstargames.com, you can find it on the website somewhere. It's like, "What? Agent's still there," but, yeah, I don't know.
dude, yeah, people always are constantly still to this day talking about that and stuff, but it's just like, yeah, like we did it when it exist and stuff. I don't even know how much I can't say any more
Yeah,
about that, man. Talk about that off the air.
exactly, exactly. I'll drop some dirt in your ear later.
Do you
Um,
remember that was the kind of crazy thing about working in some of these big games is you like work on secret projects where you can't tell anybody. And it's like for years, like working on some game, like super excited about, like going back home to friends, like yeah, I'm in the game industry stuff. It's like, oh yeah, what game are you working on? Oh yeah, you'll see, man. You'll see.
no, it's funny, well, I'd go to, E3 and stuff like that, and I'd find myself talking to people, and some of these people would know more about the games that, like, our company was working on than I knew, and they're like, "Hey, did you guys ever get funding for X, Y, and Z?" And I'm like, "What? What are you talking about? Kidding
Yeah,
me?" And,
that's why some of it's that's why like I think a lot of design lately is about like listening to people online now because you can hear like those crazy fans immediately in tweets and stuff where it's like they do know more about the project sometimes than some of these other people who are working on it or like the obsessed people so deep into it and now it's like people are getting the immediate feedback from those players and stuff integrating it. So it's
yeah,
crazy, man. But back then it would be like we'd have to be traveling to a physical conference to get that type of feedback.
yeah, some dark corner of some, shady bar, in downtown LA, with after E3 is closed up. I remember it very well. It was fun. So, let me ask you this. You went to QA to actually make games. I mean, was that you saying, "I'm gonna jump in QA and then make my way into making games," or were you just checking it out, or what?
That was the only way in, basically, man. Yeah,
Okay.
everything else was it's like you need to have some sort of experience or something. So that's this is kind of my main problem actually in my whole career. Is I'm like, I just want to make games and be in it and be in the development process. But it's like, okay, no, what's my exact path? So it's like, okay, design is just the default thing, man. You go designer basically, and that kind of touches all areas of development, basically. So yeah, I wanted to be a game designer. I'll start out in QA and probably maybe move to design at some point. But I was just happy to be part of it, dude, to just be seeing the development kits and all the stuff behind the scenes. It's like so exciting to me, man.
Did you ever see the first, PS, 2, 3 development kit that we got? I remember there was
Oh, there's like that giant thing.
yeah,
Dude, yeah, I
the
think
big
that thing, yeah, those things were ridiculous, man.
the big black travel trunk, with the 2 handles on the side. You could put, like, an entire family's, clothes for a week in there.
Dude, yeah, if that thing goes missing, people in a black helicopter might show up.
No, Ted Carson plugged that thing up, man, and it blew out the power on the 2nd floor of Rockstar back in our old building. So, it just yeah, that thing was mo
Yeah, no, that was cool, man. Just being in that development and seeing that stuff behind the scenes is still pretty exciting. Although now it's like you could just develop at home or whatever. But I thought that was all pretty cool, man. Like even just seeing the controllers, of like, oh, this Xbox controller, like it doesn't have any like jewel on it or whatever because it's from the dev kit and stuff like that. Was pretty cool, man. I got one of those face plates for the 360, and it was like developers launch edition or whatever.
yeah.
Felt pretty good about that.
So, okay, so now so where are you now? Because you're not in, California anymore. You've,
Yeah, man. We moved to Redmond, Washington, man. This is like a heart of game development up here in Washington, actually, man. There's like DigiPen University and all these game development companies up here, but that we basically just always wanted to move to Washington. And it actually started out by going to the PAX comp show, man. The first couple of PAXs that me and Amber would go fly up here to, and we're like, oh, Seattle is so awesome, dude. It's
I
like
remember.
at that time, it was like, "Oh, the city is so clean and you could walk around and stuff," but now it's, like, a little, little grimier, but, now Bellevue is, like, the nice clean city over there, but, yeah, so we basically, after, I bought a house, like, maybe, like, 10 years ago, and then it was just, like, the housing market was so crazy lately, it's like, "Okay, the prices are this much, okay, we have to sell this house," and it's like, well, we're working remotely. I might as well just move to where we always wanted to go, man. This is like a new generation. People can work remotely. You're not tied down to any one area anymore. So it's just like you go where you want to go. It's yeah, pretty nuts, dude. When we were basically just like, where's a good school for our son and stuff.
That's cool. So, I really appreciate the gusto that you guys had, and I mean, even the gusto back in, running into you at PAX. I remember we were talking. You were like, I'm going to be at PAX," and I'm like, "Oh shit, okay." Um, because I was doing stuff there and trying to actually network with the PAX guys, and you were doing it too, and I was calling around like, "Is anybody checking out this game thing?" And none of the developers were, but you were, and you just reminds me that we actually got together and we had lunch over at what's that restaurant with the great clam chowder?
Oh, was it Ivar's or something like that?
Ivars.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, that's right, man. Yeah, dude, I've always been about that, and going to those, gaming conventions and stuff was awesome just because 'cause I'm so into game development. But yeah, it was weird not that many people would go, and that one, it was like, now it's huge, man, but before it was like not everybody knew what it was. It was still kinda the arcade thing, Penny Arcade, man, had a serious place in game mystery, man, for a while. Like that comic strip, it was like every day, 3 times a week when that came out. It was like, that ruled the water cooler conversation for that day or stuff.
Yeah, I haven't checked those guys out in a while. I don't know what they're up to, but no, they definitely had an effect on me in terms of like what's possible, what you can actually do, and say, hey, just put out a website, just start building this. Um, when they started getting some of their friends on, like uh, they had like three groups of friends that they had, and they just started hosting their web comic on the PAX on the Penny Arcade site, and it just became this big rolling thing.
Right,
And it
yeah,
got
that's kind of like what I'm talking about. Now we could work remote, we could go anywhere. That was like the beginning of it. They're just like, "You are online, man."
yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Could do
Okay, so
anything.
you packed up and moved to Redmond just because of the energy and buzz of the development there?
And it's nice, man. There's nice schools, and it's a good place, man. And yeah, that's basically it. Some people think I'm crazy. It's like everybody here is like working for like Microsoft or Amazon. I'm like, no, man. I'm here to do my own thing, man. I'm starting my own
I
game
love it.
company here,
I
man.
love it. Okay, so there's a gap that we kind of skipped there. You going from QA to all of a sudden developing your own games. I know that you've had a lot of experience with Unity and creating some apps. How does that jump happen? Because it's one of those things that if someone doesn't do it, they're kind of clueless, and it's like, what is this about?
Yeah, man, that's a thanks, man. Yeah, I was like basically, I was a Steve Jobs fanboy, man. During the time when he was still alive, I used to first I hated Apple, but then I was this huge Steve Jobs fanboy. Like every time he did a live speech or whatever, I'd be tuning in. It's like this new device is amazing. I have to buy it immediately. And one of them was like the iPhone, man, and just like that whole idea of just like yeah, this is like a blank slate and you could put anything on the device, like, kinda, like, blew me away, man, and it was like, it really did, man, and so I was basically like, once that app store came out, I'm like, "Well, why would I work at a big game company? I could just make my own games and release them on here," and so that's basically why what I left and did, but at that time, it was just yeah, I had no experience. I just had to go on YouTube tutorials, basically, of like how to make a game, how do you get a graphic in, how do you detect when they push left or whatever. And there would only be like maybe like one obscure forum post to like figure out how to get around something. Whereas now it's just like all these official how-to tutorials and stuff like that. But it was so early back then, man. It was like there was not all these resources, so I didn't really make it. But I made that experience basically. So it was like, oh, I need art for the game. Teamed up with like Tom Carroll, and then it was like, okay, some good artists that I know, and we did some cool art. But then it's like, okay, we'll split the profits 50-50.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, now I have to do the programming, the development, the design, the marketing, the publishing, and basically all this other stuff. And yeah, didn't quite, it was just too much to be successful at that time. But I loved the idea of local development. So then I started working at like Senga and Jam City and these type of places. It's also during when we were working at Rockstar, it was like Farmville became a big thing, man, and all these like social games became a big thing. It was like,
Okay. Okay. That's that's an important part because I don't know if you remember, Jeff and I worked kitty corner from each other in these cubicles. And at one point, I forgot who it was or how it happened, but one of us got on Mafia Wars first.
that's
And we were like,
right.
yo, are you seeing this? It's this game Mafia Wars. And it was not at the time, there was nothing but like, meters filling up. It was just a screen
Text.
full
It
of
was like, yeah,
meters.
text to
Uh,
meters, yeah. But
Yeah.
the numbers just kept going up, man. It's like, oh, level 5, down level 10. It's like, oh, dude, you're level 17. Oh, man, I gotta get up there and
I
stuff.
had like 27 Tommy guns. I think I could take down this bank. And and that got and we were kind of fascinated by it. And I remember it was one of those things where, you have that feeling of like, no, there's something here, and everybody else is telling you, shut the hell up, you're crazy. And we were like, no, 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 this is hot. It's on Facebook and you can connect with your friends and you can, you know, and they're like, it's just meters, dude. What the fuck are you talking about? Uh,
That was
and then
basically the creation of a whole new segment of the industry, man.
I know, and, no, this it's funny that you bring that up because, he went on to Zynga and Jam City and, you worked with him there, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of amazing seeing how that all rolled together.
Yeah, man, that was, like, kind of like a realization of, like, games don't have to be, like, just shooting people about violence. Like, for some reason, the basic, idea is, "Oh, it's a game, you have to be just killing people by shooting them, hundreds and hundreds of enemies, and you have to die and then try over the same part," and stuff like that. And then these games are just like, "No, man, you just log in, everything numbers just keep going up."
I thought the waiting mechanic was bonkers. That was
Oh,
what blew
yeah.
my mind. It's like,
People still
I'm
don't
sitting
understand that, dude. I still talk to, like, people who are like, "Why would you make a design mechanic where it makes people not wanna play your game? That doesn't make any sense." Like, dude, yeah, for me, it goes back to, like, that stuff, and, actually, Nintendogs was one of the first ones where it's like, once a day, you could check on your dog on the Nintendo DS, and it was like, actually, it made the game like, I had hung out with a friend of mine who'd been checking in every day for, like, months, like, had all this stuff. Like, "Oh, oh." I think yeah, it's that real it bringing games to real life, man.
so you saw this and you're like, "I gotta be a part of it."
Yeah, basically, yeah, I had grand ideas thinking I'm just gonna make my own games, become a millionaire, and all this stuff. That's basically what I'm still doing, man. But now, though, now instead of jumping into that, instead of jumping into just learning development, like you were asking about Unity, that's kind of just how I learned about Unity and stuff, all these game development engines. So now I'm basically jumping into it again, but nowadays it's going to be about like VR, AR, and NFTs and the blockchain and learn all about this stuff. And even if I just make something that doesn't go anywhere, I'm going to learn all about it. And then I'm going to be able to have, jump to let that set the direction for like the next couple of years of my career, hopefully. Or maybe one of my things pops off and that works out, man. I'm also really interested in this trading card project, man, but it's not ready to be revealed yet.
Man, you know what? You're right there. There's so many, like, ideas, technologies, and paths um, to development, and I feel bad because I got caught up in doing art shows, right? At some point, I was like, "Yeah, man, creativity," and I have a history of art, and my dad was a fine artist and whatnot. So I started doing these art shows and things, and I wanted to blend it into game development and proper design, and, yeah, it just got weird at one point where I'm putting on art shows and I'm talking to these artsy fartsy people, and I'm like, "Yo, these people have such disdain for games," and it's back to sounding realistic again. They're like, "Yeah, what you do is you just paint a canvas and do this." And I'm like, NFTs are coming around the corner. There's so much digital art happening. You were talking about Roblox before the thing started. There's this whole new area of creativity, and I almost feel overwhelmed, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, things are popping off and changing constantly. But yeah, that old school art world is interesting, man. Yeah, people really had disdain for games. I mean, I feel even like something like Among Us is kind of like slowly changing the culture where it's like that's just the game, man. There's the little plushies and stuff like that. Why would anybody hate Among Us or anything like that? It's like I've had different people of different ages play it and stuff. Do they really hate games that much, man?
Well, it's not that I don't think it's that people hate games. It's that it just seems like the same way that old school people will say, "Oh, they're making a movie from the funny books." And it's like, no, this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's based on the graphic novel of whatever, whatever, da da da. And you try to explain it to them, and they're just like, "Uh-huh, funny books." People wearing goofy people wearing capes and spandex, and you're gonna invest time into that. And it's like it's just this disconnect. So
Yeah. Yeah,
um
that's, maybe just a generational thing, man. I think that's still going on now too with, like, Roblox where, the younger generation, it's like they're taking that stuff seriously and playing it a lot, man. And then a lot of people are just like, "Oh, that's like a scam to like make the children develop a game. You're not getting enough money out of it," or something like.
Everything's a scam.
Yeah, but, yeah, interesting times, man. There's a lot of ways to go right now. Yeah, I think we should, maybe work together, collaborate on some projects. Yeah, but, what do you think about that? You mentioned NFTs, and we'll talk about it later. Maybe we can get to it
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
My big
Let's go.
question is, like, what do you think of this, effect on the environment and the power situation, man?
I think that's minor actually. In terms of like every other thing that people are doing, it's like, hey, wait a minute, that's not beer.
Oh, yeah, no, I've also got this big energy drink.
This guy's down in all kinds of stuff. I see the kombucha bottle on the desk and everything.
Dude, I love this kombucha, man. I recently figured out and learned about this stuff, man. Have you ever messed with that stuff, man?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there was a friend of mine, Chris. I don't know if she used to hang around and she was a friend of mine and a couple others. She put me on a lot of stuff, vegan eating. I'm not a vegan, but she put me on the benefits of eating differently. Kombucha was part of that. I gave up Ralph's and was like, all right, I'm going to Sprouts every day now. Screw Ralph's and Vons. What is that? They don't sell good kombucha. Um, so no, I get it. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but that was funny to me.
Yeah, no, that stuff's good, man. I feel like I get like a little bit of a buzz from that of just like a different, not everything has to be like caffeine for like your energy levels or whatever, like that or like yerba mate. It's like a little bit of a different energy. It's something to consider. Anyway,
I
yeah, that.
um I had to speaking of development, I had to give all that up. It was
Oh,
stressing
okay.
me out, it was giving me headaches, and my development cycle was like, energy drinks and, eh, coffee, pizza at times. There was this
Oh,
little
yeah.
Mexican place on Oceanside Boulevard where I'd get a chimichanga late at night when I wanted to bang something out. So now I'm on a much cleaner, smoother trajectory, where it's just like if something stresses me out, I kind of take a sip of herbal tea and I'm like, I'll check on that in the morning. It
Nice.
so no, it's a much more consistent thing. It's just I still work hard. I just don't have the high ups and downs. Um and yeah, I have to thank Chris on a lot of the woo woo crowd and the vegan crowd in Carlsbad and La Mesa and what else? Del Mar that were putting me on that business.
Oh, right on, man. Yeah, that's kind of going along with the power idea, for bad for the environment and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I totally feel that if like people are wasting energy, but yeah, when I looked into it and it was like, okay, people and encourage it's just going to be a temporary use of this energy. We're going to use it eventually, and then the things are generated that the transactions don't use that much, and it encourages uh, energy being used in a new place for clean energy. Basically, it's like if you could make clean energy, you could. It's a way to convert energy into money
Yeah.
immediately, which we never had before. It's just like so crazy, man. So I think that eventually there's going to be some way to make clean energy and stuff, and that's going to be solved. But I also got into this, the other one, Sheer Coin, where it's based on hard drive space. And then so there's other like it's you don't have to be proof of work using all this electricity. It could be proof of like hard drive space and all this stuff. But, yeah, dude, really interesting stuff with that. I hope that it's, all balances out. That was kind of my big fears, like, I
So
didn't really wanna jump into it, and while all these people are
okay.
gonna be criticizing me of, like, "You're destroying the environment and stuff." There's, like, some serious, aggressive people about that online, man.
Yeah, yeah. And as you can probably tell, I've been putting myself out there a lot more as a front facing kind of personality, and yeah, they'll be all right. That's my I do value. the environment and how we take care of our personal environments. But I think that the the technological gains will naturally build a situation that's much more beneficial to the environment and beneficial to our creativity. And I think that comes from us being able to, I mean, because the thing about the energy thing, it takes a lot of energy costs money and it takes time. So you have all this time taken up doing all these transactions. Well, instead of doing an immediate proof of work or an immediate proof of stake, it's like, you know what, you can bundle, 1,000 proof of work and proof of stake options or transactions, and then submit all those at once. And,
Mhm.
that's like 1/1000th of the energy consumed if you do all these transactions at once. So it's just more efficient that way. And it just happens to benefit the environment. So after looking at it, I was concerned initially, but I don't think it's going to be an extreme problem. And I think the benefits of moving to this NFT digital collectible smart contract landscape is so much more positive that, we may stub our toe on the way, but this is something that we need to keep on moving forward with.
Amen, man. I'm on board. So yeah, dude. So that's what I'm taking this hiatus to do my own development. That's something I'm going to jump into, man. I'm learning how to do some development on there. I was kind of close to this
Wait,
NFT
like
idea.
NFT development, like what's that language
Yeah,
called?
man. Like actually creating the NFTs, but there's different languages, I guess, for different blockchains and stuff like that. But yeah, I was checking out this Chia list for that Chia blockchain, and I was kind of close to this with that turtle project I had, man, where it's like these turtles were spawned online on a Twitch stream. People could buy their own turtle and turn them into races and stuff. It was basically an NFT, man. But, instead of, being on the blockchain, it was basically just like a text document on my computer and
Yeah.
everything is written into. But I just love that people don't even know. I just love that idea of like there's this, uh, a document somewhere that everybody could check it, and everybody checks whenever it changes, and it's legitimate, and you can all go back and like check it on the chain. I think it's very valuable, man. Yeah, it's kind of
So
like remember.
so are
I'm
you
just gonna.
think okay. So are you thinking NFT collectibles or game NFT assets, or how is this relating to your game development?
Yeah, man, I want to integrate games where it's like the game, it the word game is maybe, that's a let's not use the word game, man.
Okay.
It's an experience. Maybe it's not even the game.
Oh,
This is an experience, an app. It could be anything. It's just like the Steve Jobs is talking about, man. It's a blank slate. It doesn't have to have like a hunt or anything, or it have to be fighting enemies and dying. It could be anything. But yeah, I just think, yeah, I like my turtle idea for an example. Imagine if the turtles were an NFT, where it's like, oh, dude, this turtle's won 100 races. It's got like really good stats. It's got on the ground, on the grass track, dude. This turtle will kill everybody. It's going for like, $2,000 or whatever. You could sell that turtle. They'll start building one up in the game to try to like get it good and then like, sell it. Like people sell WoW accounts. It would basically, this could bring legitimacy to that idea of like investing in the game, and then the stuff you put into the game, this actually creates some value, man. Where normally it's like, oh, I'm racking up all these achievements, dude. Nobody cares,
yeah.
man. It doesn't
Are
work like that.
are you concerned, or do you have any thoughts about the commerce side, um, maybe spoiling or disrupting the proper creativity of an entertainment product or this experience? The commerce side of things, is that a problem that you think about? Or I mean, because
I
NFTs
noticed
are baked around commerce and cryptocurrency, so that's a thing, right? I don't know.
Yeah, man. I mean, as long as the experience is like designed around that idea of okay, new people will be able to buy and sell these things off market outside the app or whatever that commerce idea. That's just got to be baked in from the beginning. And so that's the beautiful thing about starting where I am right now at the beginning. It's just like I'm going to be thinking about this. Who else is starting the game or knowing about all this NFT stuff and all this? And so it's like this is all going to be baked into the beginning. So I'll make it fair. It's not like taking an old game. It like reminds me of the Diablo auction house. In Diablo 3, it's like, oh, you could just buy as many potions as you want with real money, and then it makes the game like playable or whatever if you want to spend money. If they ended up taking it out, it was like that. Basically, that game wasn't designed properly with that in mind, and
So you're
it's
not
just
a
a
fan
separate
of
thing.
you're not a fan of pay for play?
Uh, I mean, it's just it's like as long as the experience is designed for it. I mean, I'm still up for just the traditional game that's completely there's no microtransactions, like it's completely fair, and there's no I'm all for that, man. Like chess or something like that. It's just like yeah, I'm all for the perfect gameplay balance and all that stuff. But I mean, there's also the real world of there's
Yeah.
businesses and the other people don't necessarily have those values. So if people are going to a game like chess, they want it to be completely fair. But if people are going to some sort of NFT trading thing, it's like they know they could put some money into
Yeah.
this thing, man, and they don't mind putting money into it, man. So if there's people who want to spend money on these virtual items, dude.
Yeah. You know what? Speaking of like paying money for virtual items and investing in something well constructed and well designed, I think there's a huge opportunity. And I was talking about this in my other podcast, Show versus Business, with Theo, and we were talking about, if you remove commerce from the idea and then really build up a good idea that gets enough attention, commerce is going to come jump on it anyway.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that got me thinking about, the people who were really going out there trying to design things. And I have to bring this up. What's up with you and these EM's design chairs? And because that's a classic design thing. And you brought it up before we got on. So
yeah,
where did
man.
that
I've been
come
looking.
from?
I've been obsessed with these chairs, man. Yeah, my wife basically has always wanted one of these chairs. Where we used to watch Frasier a lot, man. And he lives in Seattle, and he had one of these chairs in this apartment. If he like references it, it's like this is like the most well designed chair a modern man has ever made, or something like that. And it's just like always this like iconic thing of like a well-designed chair, and I've also kind of been interested since this whole work from home thing. I think everybody like rethought their chair game and stuff. Of, like, what am I sitting in at home and stuff? Will we get something comfortable, basically? And but so I got like a decent like gamer chair or whatever, and that was all right. But just yeah, just thinking about just chairs in general, man. That chair just seems so nice and well designed, and they're like just got go went into a deep dive. You could reading about their design philosophies and all this stuff of this husband and wife design team. And they're like, oh, we want this thing to feel like you're sitting in like an old catcher's mitt. And they actually have all these design ideas that they put out there that are pretty interesting, actually. So I'm actually taking some of their design ideas into my indie game development, man. And I think I may be one of the first people looking at this as far as taking their basic people's design ideas into game development, man.
Hold on, hold on. I gotta call you out there. I love it when designers say, I'm the first person that's ever thought of this. And
I'm the first person to publicly come out and say this. Basically, the first company publicly designing games based on the IAMS design principles publicly. Yeah, no, I know that's a ridiculous statement, but stuff
no,
there's stuff like that.
as far as I know, you're the guy. I'm gonna post it on my website now. So it's official. What are you talking about?
Yeah, man, we're living in the age where evaluations of companies are based off just like, oh, they said they were the first to do this and stuff like that. Man, look at Bitcoin; it just was the first in some cases. But a lot of that stuff in crypto is like, oh, well, this was the first one to do that. And like those NFTs, the crypto punks, they're like so valuable just because it was the first one. Um, Yeah. Somebody's got to do it. But no, that chair is pretty incredible though. But man, 4 grand basically for a chair, I can't justify that. But it's like, is the knock? There's knockoffs for like 600 that are basically like some Chinese company doing the same design, but they don't have all the attention to every little fine detail that those people do, like putting it together and stuff. There's just something about that of just like, yo, man, we made this chair. And it's like 50 years later it's still
Yeah.
basically like the most comfortable chair because we solved the problem.
You know, Jeff Hunio, who I had on earlier for BenjaCon, he is we got into a design thing, and for a while we were like, dude, we were going out to furniture stores, we were hanging out at like, we go to these fashion outlets. We would talk about, well, look at the cut of this jacket. It's perfectly designed for. Oh, I get it. It's like this is coming from a Middle Eastern ideology, and the arms are cut a certain way in this jacket. That's incredible. Yeah, it was just we got really weird with it for a bit, right? And there's a book called The Design of Everyday Things. I don't know if you ever read that,
Oh, no, I
but
gotta check that out.
it's a great book talking about like why one doorknob style is better than another doorknob style in certain situations and signage, and it goes into a lot of stuff and really gets designers thinking. But
Dude, that's great, man. Yeah, there's design everywhere you look, and everything man-made actually has design in it. It's just like a street sign. It's like, why did they use that font? It's like there's somebody actually put some design work behind that. It's
so okay,
fascinating.
right quick, let me ask you this. What does design mean to you? Like when you hear design?
Yeah, that could drive somebody crazy trying to come up with a definition like
Yeah,
that,
it's a
man.
slightly
'Cause
it's a slightly easier question than what is art, so I decided I'd go with that one.
Yeah, no, I think it's just somebody grabbing stuff out of the ether, man. Somebody closing their eyes and being the first one to come up with an idea, even though the idea is obvious. Like you said, you laughed at me about this idea of I'm the first one to do this. It's like, oh man, was the first one. There's a heart behind you. Somebody was the first one to like draw a heart like that. It was like, oh, that represents a heart and stuff like that. Like it basically is the first of every original one of one creation. It's like the first time something's been like pulled out of the ether, basically, and brought into this realm of physical existence. Is one way to put it. But dude, I read this book when I was in QA, like, oh, quality assurance. I'm going to take this philosophically. What is quality about? How do you define quality? There was
Mm,
like this book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance,
I
and it
haven't
was
read
like,
that yet.
okay, there's like they spawned a bunch of these like this and the art of Zen and the art of this and that. I think it's one of the first ones. So it might have been like, oh yeah, speaking of the first, it's all about me the first man, day one. This episode is all about day one. I should have worn my day one shirt. But dude, that guy wrote this book that he basically kind of like went crazy trying to define how do you say what is like a quality item. It's like even if it's just a chair, who's to say what's high quality about it or not? And it's just all comes back to kind of like the relationship between the artist and the end user. That's something that I kind of thought was cool about your art was actually a lot of the stuff where you would put out a little description with it and it's just like, oh yeah, I found the out, like this mushroom, blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, I see where you're coming from, so that makes it interesting to me. Where a lot of art, it's like I just see the image. It's like dude, I don't no idea how to interpret this. Yeah, I can just guess, but I would be rather be on the same page as the artist.
I know what you mean. Yeah, it's design is funny to me because eh, I've started out in computer development, software engineering, and it was always an ends to a mean. I really enjoyed software development, but that wasn't my thing. I wanted to create things, and I thought that computers and technology was a great way to do it. So I ended up in software engineering. Um, so when we talk about like design and we were talking about Apple earlier, and no documentary has really touched on how they get into the design aspects of things. And that's what I really connected with Apple, where it's like, no, they made a decision to give you a certain point of view on their development, give you a certain like angle on this is what my creation is supposed to elicit. This is the experience that my creation is supposed to bring forth out of you. And trying to do that with a new technology, like with NFTs, with stuff on the blockchain or video games, I was always thinking about, okay, yeah, that's cool that we have this 360-degree analog controller and Xbox Live connectivity, but what does that experience mean to the actual person playing the game or interacting with what I'm creating? And I got in a lot of trouble for that actually. You know,
Yeah, it clashes with there being a bit of the business side of it, I guess, because it's like, people can the designers could sit in the design group, in a meeting room, and they'll talk about stuff until 3 a.m., and it's like, dude, well, it's like, what came out of that, you know? So it's like, kind of like clashes with a little bit of yeah, clashes with the business side, basically. That's was interesting about going to mobile games too, was like it was really apparent where it's like, "No, man, this is a business. Like, how much money did we make today? Oh, no, we gotta start running the sale, man. Those numbers are going down, like, right now." Like,
like right now, I'm watching the chart. I heard that at Valve they have monitors up that can chart everything that's going on through Steam, and it's just like, yeah, man, this game's doing bad. We should just stop talking about it. And it's just like, what? Just 'cause that little chart said, it's like, yeah, man, exactly. This game's going up. It's the hotness right now, obviously, because people are buying it. And it could have just been some Kotaku article. I don't know. Uh, oh gosh, that's comedy. That's spitting me off into a totally different direction there. It made me lose my train of thought thinking about business. Jeez.
yeah, man, it's interesting how they could collide for sure. But yeah, I found that I'm Simonian parables, by the way. It's this they have these 14 parables for Ims design, basically that I'm gonna try using some of these ideas for my
Okay.
game
Well,
development company, but we'll link to this in the show notes.
yes, exactly. Thank you for saying it before I did. We'll link up to the 14 parables in the show notes. Jeez. That's awesome. So is um our games good right now? And you're talking about mobile games. I recently got on Apple Arcade and I was jumping on
Okay.
I was playing around with the Target app and I use that a lot, speaking of Target spending money and all this. And they had an offer for, hey, get a 4 months of Apple Arcade for free. And I'm like, cool. And and now that I'm playing these games, I'm wondering where games are at right now. What is your perspective on like the commerce side and what people are playing and
Well,
mobile
yeah,
casual wise,
man.
I
It's
guess.
interesting you mentioned Apple Arcade because that was basically like trying to be a solution to like one of the biggest problems is like the mobile games, like how do you monetize them? It kind of just turned into this thing where it's like, yeah, every game is free to start, but then it's like, are you paid to win? Or it's bugging you for microtransactions, or it's like throwing an ad in your face constantly. And people are like, okay, well, I just want to like, I'd rather spend $7 to just, a lot of like old school gamers. I'd rather just spend like the X amount of dollars and just have the game permanently like what they're used to. But the problem with that is like there's gonna be like somebody out there, like 1 in 100 people who would spend like $5,000 on the game. And so it's like it money wise, it's like how could you argue with not making it like having microtransactions when it's like also it lets people get in for free and then a couple of these whales will basically like fund all these other people playing the game.
Wait, use the insider term. What's a whale? Explain it.
Oh, that's just old school of people who are like a big spender on games, man. There'll be like a tiny percentage of people who like to spend a lot on a game and they'll buy almost everything that you put out there, man, and they just consume it like crazy. And there's going to be people like that who are like at the end of the content of the game, as soon as you release something else, they go churn through it or burn through it and spend. Yeah, well, whenever you can, it's like when you see these like iOS games, it's like, oh yeah, like $1 pack, $3 pack, $5 pack, or $99 pack. Like there's people buying those $100 packs. Those are the whales.
That actually that amazed me. And I learned about that when I was studying Candy Crush Saga.
Oh
I
yeah.
remember I did a episode of this thing called Game Guy TV with Derry and Jeff.
Oh yeah. I
And
remember that.
yeah, they were like "Hey, so what should we be playing now?" And I said Candy Crush Saga, and everybody looked at me like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "You fools."
Dude,
You
they ended
you
up
should
making that into a TV show, I think.
Oh, geez. But it amazed me how, like, yeah, like you were saying that, the commerce is designed into the product, and it had this, "Hey, get a boost for 99 cents," or, "Hey, get a, special boost and these power-ups for 199. If 4.99, you'll get some unlimited blah, blah, blah." And then you're like, "Okay." And then they shoot up the big once in a while, they would throw up the big, "Hey, listen, you need to quit you need to quit screwing around and just pay $99.99 to buy the mega package. Just quit screwing around. Quit playing around. Microtransactions, go macro, buddy. Go big." And it blew my mind because I'm sitting here thinking, "Who is doing this? Obviously somebody."
Yeah, man. I mean, even if just the tiny people in that funnel go through there and bite that fish. Yeah, the people are behind those things, I guess. I remember talking to one designer early on, and was like, "Oh, what do you looking back at your game like a retrospective?" He's like, "I just should have made like the in-app purchases more expensive. Actually, I should have put like $500 bundles in there because people like bought those. It was like
Yeah.
after the game had came and gone, it was like." Okay, everybody's forgot about this game years later, but it's like there could have been either a couple people who bought this crazy bundle, or if that option wasn't in there, you probably weren't going to make that much money. So it's interesting, man. And that's kind of, dude, I think that this could tie in with NFTs, where it's like the price of something is valuable to different people, basically. And it's like some people are willing to spend a lot more on an experience just as they have more money or they're more into it. And it's like these games where it's like, oh, pre-order this game for the $100 edition and you get access to the beta and stuff like that. It's like, well, they basically could say, well, they will charge you. They are basically now saying we'll charge you more to play early. It's like rather than spend the $60 when it actually comes out. And it's like it reminds me of NFTs where it's like you can balance out the cost like dynamically, basically, or it's like, okay, the game is out. How much are people willing to spend? Maybe it could just go like naturally through a market, basically. And like rather than like releasing these things, it's like okay, like Pokemon cards. It's like there has to be this one rare card. It's like let people naturally determine which one is the valuable one, and like why sell them all at a price of 10 cards for $4 when you could just sell the
Yeah.
super rare card for like $100. People will just pay $100 to get that one super rare card, man. Let them buy it on the chain.
Yeah. And that's once again, that's part of the experience where it's like, hey, I was there early. I understood what was going on. I bought into this awesome product. And now when everybody goes to my account or online, they they see that, hey, this guy was there 5 years ago in 2021 during the pandemic, and he's got this awesome, pandemic jacket on his avatar. It's like, I survived pandemic 2021. It's got a COVID logo on the back. It's crazy, little red
Dude,
spiky looking
yeah,
thing.
you mentioned Steam being the people who could like really keep an eye on these things, the people at Valve, and they got into that a lot where they sell all these things for your Steam profile, where it's like, oh, this is you were part of the summer sale of 2019, but if you spend an extra $100, you get the pro badge of a premium badge that you were really there and stuff like that. Put it on your profile. And that's because they're watching all these things and have accountants who know that, like, the way that the pays to put these things in there, people are going to buy these things. We're selling something that's a virtual item. So
Now,
yeah, it's
d-
interesting.
does that does that collectability make sense to you?
What do you mean, man?
Like, a lot of people collect, in the past, people have collected spoons, comic books, coins, Pokemon cards, baseball cards, whatever. And suddenly it's like, hey, well, now you can collect something digital that you can theoretically, store and display in some way. And I actually think that's the next level of it, the way to store and display these things. But when you're thinking about, hey, I'm going to get in this NFT, are you thinking more investment or collectible, or let me just ride the wave of this cool technology? I don't know how you think about it. What's
No, yeah, I like that idea of like people determine the price of something. Basically, it's like I just put these things out there, and it's like if people are willing to pay $1,000, they can, or if it's only worth a fraction of like a satoshi or whatever, that's like what it becomes. But it's like this idea of like let the market determine it, basically, and it's like people are exchanging things outside of the game even. And I'm basically just like that idea of the collectibles of the value. I'm interested in exploring this idea. I've got really kind of dug deep into card collectibles and like the original, cigarette packs would come with a card and there'd be like some collectible cards
Yep.
people would like collect and stuff like that. And it's like, and they include baseball cards and it's like, it costs the same amount to print every baseball card. It's just the same amount of ink and paper, but somehow one of them ends up becoming super valuable. It's like, what the heck
Yeah.
is going on here, man? And so
It's
that same type of thing is going on with NFTs, and it's really interesting, man. I'm just looking at it as I want to learn about it and make something kind of design with that for the ground up. It's just interesting stuff, even if nothing comes out of it. I just like to learn about this stuff from like the philosophical reasons of, like reading about like, Bitcoin in the early days. And it's just like, oh yeah, like the Federal Reserve and all this stuff. This is like a
oh
possible
man.
way to.
No, you're talking like a true designer there, where it's like, look at the philosophy of the way monetary transactions have occurred in the past, blah blah blah. Yeah, that's total designer talk. For anybody who didn't pick up on that, that's where he's coming from here. Um, so now we've got all this stuff happening, and you mentioned earlier, you kind of it was kind of a throwaway comment, but you talked about Roblox.
Oh yeah.
How we're developing a group of, not developing a group of, we got kids and a new generation coming up with all of this stuff. This is fascinating to me that they're growing up in this age of, hey, let me just start up a, Roblox account, create my own level, and try to create value in my own little world universe. How do you see that angle of things
Yeah,
for the new
man, it's
generation?
gonna be totally different where we when we were kids, like I said, I wanted to make games, but there was not really a straight, path for it, or, then there was these certain schools that you could take these courses, but now you could just jump in with that editor and basically start making stuff right away by dragging and dropping. They make it so easy, and there's, like, this whole community of people making how-to videos that's like usually I'm like looking up Unity how-to videos, and it's like some guy that totally understands the programming, kind of explaining it all. And these videos for Roblox how-tos is just like some kid, like I don't know, you just look up like leaderboard and drag it in there, and it works. That's it. So it's like it's like this other generation of creators who don't really understand the basics of it, but they're able to get stuff going. And the interesting thing is the multiplayer aspect of it is everything's always online in an online server with other people. So to be able to just like throw that out instantly and just like, oh, I have an idea of like Bomberman, but like this and that. You could just like make it in Roblox and it's like the people are joining instantly, sending people the link, on whatever device they could join in there. Whereas if I wanted to make that myself as an indie game, it's like, oh, well, what networking stack are you using? Like, matchmaking, all these things. Like, it'd be like 10, a couple programmers just to develop that.
Yeah.
But these kids are able to mess around with that instantly. And like a lot of the multiplayer design ideas where we would have one back in the day and it's like, okay, this idea of, smuggler's run or whatever, capture the flag mode, work on it for like 2 years, and then it comes out, and it's like, oh, okay, it would have been cooler to
Yeah.
have done this or whatever, but no big deal. Whereas now it's like they just instantly get the, oh, here, put this mode out there and see how what actually which one people are playing, how fun it is, and then instantly do an update, and people don't even have to download anything. It's just the next day it's changed. And dude, and also the kids are communicating with the developers because there's like a game board where like the kids are
Mhm.
just like, oh, that's not in the game. Just ask the developer on the game board, man, and they'll put it in there and stuff. And they're like communicating back and forth. And there's so many of them, dude. Like half the kids under 16, I think, are playing this game. It's just completely out of control, man. And I don't think people are taking it seriously enough. There's people in the game industry who still haven't even like played it or completely understand it. Meanwhile,
Yeah,
meanwhile,
I'm
it's
just
just like,
raising my hand because, I heard about Roblox and I kind of poo-pooed on it, and then, walking through the store or whatever, I see the Roblox toys, and I'm like, "This looks like shit," and the graphics are bad, but, like, intentionally bad in a kind of funny, interesting way. So
exactly.
you know what? To for science, I will go download the Roblox and see about creating something here. I'm gonna make that little note.
Dude, check
And
it
but
out, man. It's basically for kids, but it's adults still are could make stuff in there too. And it's yeah, the graphics are kind of bad, but it's like they could be actually decent. There's nothing stopping people from doing something that looks like all right if you have like a nice running PC. But it's like it's not about the graphics. We learned that with like the Nintendo Wii, though. It's like it's not about the graphics, man.
no,
It's like
okay, no, I mean, th there's graphic, high fidelity, and there's, what I call shitty artistic, development choices. I think Roblox is just I don't know what they're doing, but my god, I've seen some of the toys and T-shirts, and I'm like, "That color combination doesn't match up, and that's when you know something might be about something because you don't think much of it. You're like, "What the hell is that? Why would anybody?" If it hits me enough in enough ways like that, I'm thinking to myself, "Okay, there might actually be something there. I need to let go of my notions and go check this out." Because yeah, man, it's like some weird fashion that you see kids wearing. Like, why would you wear that? What? Those shoes are terrible. But then everyone's wearing them, so
yeah, man,
I'm
that's
out of touch.
open-minded of you, I would say, to be willing to check it out and stuff like that. Because, yeah, it definitely looks kind of like shit. But I mean, you're able to create an avatar that jump into any game with that same avatar. So like, and like you might be able to get a reward from a game and take that into the other experiences. It's like it's pretty good to be able to support that even on like AAA game. It was like I think they would have to make some sacrifices and stuff like that. And yeah, I was kind of confused with it at first, where it's like, why does it look like Lego characters, but it's not Lego? This is ridiculous. But it's kind of just like that idea of like Lego is an iconic design idea that means like you can adapt and build stuff yourself. Basically, it's interesting, man.
So what did that lead to? Is it like, do you expect, generations after this to look for like, more, creator based kind of setups where, you're doing more of your own creation, customizing, building. I don't want to say coding, but you're constructing all of these more complex scenarios within a virtual space. And the way I was seeing it was like, hey, in the future, instead of just downloading, an avatar or whatever, I have all these customization options where I can set up my own, I don't want to say universe, I don't want to say world. I don't know what the future's going to look like, but digital real estate is going to have my development influence on it, if that makes you see where I'm kind of going with this? I don't know.
Yeah, man, and then it's like this is basically it's the metaverse, man. It's the metaverse idea of it's like everybody has their own real estate, but there's some sort of connection to all these different real estates. What ties it all together? And that's like being able to take your avatar from real estate to real estate. Yeah, that's one way to look at it, I guess. But yeah, I feel like it's just about making it easier to create. as we go forward, it's just like everything is like it was so hard to make games back in the day, man. It was so and could people couldn't do it, dude, unless you like had a lot of money and grew up with a computer and stuff like that. You didn't even have the idea of making a game was impossible. Now these engines like Unity, Unreal, and Roblox is just like the next evolution of just making it even easier for people to create. You get all these other voices, and the best ones are going to bubble up to the top. So it's just like opening it up to even more voices, basically, to the design process. And a lot of people aren't even interested in the design, they just are playing it too. That's cool too, but I think it's, everybody kinda has that in the back of their head that anybody could make one of these things, and,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
So yeah, I totally agree. So one of the things that I've been thinking about that you kind of brought up there, everybody's creating, everybody's got uh, they're design quote unquote designing something. And we get into a situation where I'm a creator, I know what creating's about, and you're a creator, you know what creating's about. But to be fair, most people aren't really creators. They're copiers and disseminators. They call themselves curators sometimes, but they're really just reposting. And I'm wondering about this new and honestly, this is why I'm doing all of these podcasts, Instagram lives, Facebook lives. I'm thinking about doing Twitch now with this new webcam and everything, where we're moving out of the information slash design age or whatever, and we're moving more into an attention age where it's just like you do what you got to do to get attention. Um,
Yeah, man. It's almost like what's the difference between designing or getting attention in a way? It's kind of like there's not that much of a difference if it's like if people are creating a game or people's creating a great Instagram feed or a YouTube channel. That's just people's attention, man. Whether it's Netflix or a game or whatever, like people are competing for people's attention these days, and it's like making the design part of it like less complicated, like Roblox and these game engines, bringing it to everybody just gives everybody a chance to get try to get some attention. Man, it's like we're all just out in this universe, and whoever can create interesting waves and some buzz will attract more eyeballs, and we're all just trying to attract the most eyeballs through these streams.
does it? Okay, you seem almost happy about that. Does it seem? I don't know. To me, it seems a little shallow in some respects, and I'm having trouble. I'm doing it. I'm out there online and front facing, as I said, a little more than I definitely was in the past. But if I sit down and think ideally, I would just, close my front door, pull down the blinds, and create something and come out of the cave 6 months later, like, look, I got this. It's better designed than all y'all shit. But that doesn't matter if these other people have been getting all this attention, and I'm actually struggling with that whole getting attention thing.
No,
Um,
that's like what is good, or how do you define like what type of like music is good? Is it because it's popular? Is it good? It's like I remember thinking, no, like Britney Spears was technically when I was growing up the greatest artist, I guess, because she was selling the most albums. But it's like I'm sure there's like some like music theory guy like coming up with some of the do like song or something like that. But it's like those people that wasn't marketed and it wasn't affecting people's taste right now. He wasn't at the right place at the right time. So it's like, was that actually better designed music than Britney Spears? I mean, I can't even say, man. It's kind of like popularity, maybe the only real um, way to measure things. But like, yeah, we know that certain games, even like with games, are it's like, yeah, certain games are better designed than other more popular ones. But it's like, who is really to say? At the end of the day, it's kind of all about whoever could just get people's attention. Unfortunately.
yeah, you know what? And I'm glad that I had the experience of working at Rockstar Games because I know what it takes to go into actual quality. It's amazing to me to run into people who have no idea of what better quality actually is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Where
it just takes a lot of hard work too. It's like I don't know if people realize that like what the secret is. The secret is just like work your ass off for a long time. Like you know what to do, and just do it. Do it hard. Do the hard work. Basically, was how I think they got a lot of stuff done. And that, I don't know if that's what you're talking about. Like people coming in not really realizing that. It's just like, oh yeah, I've got this great idea, man. And it's just like it's just about the whole about the execution and the hard work, man, to actually make something really quality.
well, okay, what's the um yeah, you're talking about hard work. What does you're talking about hard work and getting out there doing things. Where does that do you think that with game development and developing a lot of these products that is the hard work damaging to you, or is it something that you need to go through and understand, or where do you kind of sit on that fence?
Hey, yeah, no, I feel like the hard work sucks, basically. And it's like if the tools were easier, the work wouldn't be that hard. Like ideally, it should just be zapped right from my brain, like instantly. But also, it's like some of the work is like where some of the good stuff comes from. It's like, oh yeah, I have this idea for a game or whatever, but if it was zapped over instantly, it's like, oh, actually, level two sucks or whatever. It's like you have to like iterate and iterate during that design process in order to actually make it good. So yeah, a lot of it's just interesting, man, and how some of those old school game developers could just be like, yeah, man, fuck it, we're working for 4 years on this because we think it's good, and then it ends up coming out and being like the greatest entertainment money making thing ever, like GTA. Or people are just like trying to crunch out a game every year, basically like following the hype and stuff like that. I think it's way better to just do like you're saying, just like close the doors and like go in for a while and like make something really pure and original and get it out there, man. That's probably the better way to go. It's basically yeah, there's like it's a balance, man, between that and then being like the Steam people who are crazy measuring every single metric to the minute and stuff. Like, where's the balance, man? Maybe I will explore this balance and find it in my new company.
Uh, okay, exactly. So back to that with what you're developing, are you are you are you trying to, increase your quality first or your quantity or the attention? What's on your mind? Like, you know what? I need to create this. I need to focus on this type of development.
You know what? Yeah, I'm just gonna focus on that, getting the attention man. Not even like from like people I know or whatever. I just want to like get something out there and measure all about measuring like what I put out there and how it affects people, stuff like that. Measuring the results back. Yeah, I'm not really like, oh, I'm going to go away and do the most creative project ever. I kind of just like I want to throw something out there and read the data coming in, adjust, and maybe try like 5 different things and see which one pops off organically. Basically, is how I'm looking at it.
That's a good way to look at it. Is that are you still thinking about app development or current like phone development as the platform that is going to attach with the right
Oh
people?
yeah, man. I totally. Although, yeah, like I say, I don't. Just from that old school Steve Jobs thing, it's like that's in everybody's pocket, and it's a good way to get to the most people, especially in some of these developing countries. Man, like people don't understand, like the amount of people in India coming online, for example, where it's like the first time they're coming online or interacting with computers is through a mobile phone,
That's
and it's like
crazy. That's
totally
crazy.
different for them. So yeah, they don't have like they kinda don't have that, like, history of, like, "Oh, technology took away our jobs," or anything like that. It's just like, "Oh, this is a cool thing that, like, helps people out and stuff like that. This is great." And so, and it's like, yeah, I wanna just get out there. My basic idea is just to how many people are in the world? How many eyeballs are on the screens? How can I generate some energy to get the most the eyeballs on something on the screen? And then once I'm there, then I'll going into a closet for a few months and try to really put something good out there. But I want to have like a be set in a good direction. That's the first place,
Okay.
basically.
I know we don't really ever talk about anything on the more spiritual woo-woo side, but you said, "Get some good energy," as opposed to getting likes or anything like that. What do you mean by getting good energy?
Like interaction of like measuring something. You know, if I put out a game, it's like, are people actually using it? It's not necessarily about the likes. It's just like about like our yeah, just like you said, attention, man, people's energy. I don't know. It's how to put it, but it's basically yeah, like people using an app. The more time they're spending on it, that's basically giving people energy into that ecosystem. And so, yeah, whether it's a trading card thing, a monopoly, getting people, excited, or just a traditional game, basically just, yeah, getting some eyeballs on it. And yeah, that's what I'm looking at, man. And then, like I said, learning about all this new technology that's out there. Um, yeah, energy is, I don't know, man. Maybe it's just a way of thinking about everything is energy, basically, man. I don't know.
Oh, no, dude, I get down with some I have it somewhere over here, but I have a I have a book full of just, notes and ideas about energy and how we interact with each other, you know, and you can think about it like the energy in the arcade when, like a master Street Fighter 2 player would come up and put his quarter down. It's like the energy in the room kinda changes. It's like, "Oh, Miles is here." And it's like, "Who's Miles?" "Yo, dog, he used to write articles for Die Hard Game Fan." Everybody's going freaking nuts. The true story, by the way. In Tallahassee, I met this kid who would write like strategy guides and send them to Die Hard Game Fan, and they'd actually get published. Uh, but uh, but yeah, I guess I just had this idea of energy, design, creation, and making a better digital landscape for people and a better way for people to create and build. And I really like what's going on today. And I think that people like you are definitely important to this whole ecosystem that we're going into. And it's not all about the likes. It's not all about, just being an internet personality or whatever. I'm personally actually doing this so we can get out that experience that like, hey, if much of your world is digital, we don't have the barriers anymore. You can create your own little, you know, e-commerce app in India, and all of your friends can exchange tokens or whatever and be good. Or hey, all you guys are in Seattle and PAX, you're talking about games and everything. You can create your own little community and start talking with each other, and you don't have to deal with the evils of Instagram and Zuckerberg and Facebook and which is why we're not doing this live, by the way.
Yeah, why is everybody still on there, man? It's like even you accept that it's an evil thing, but everybody is still on there. It's like once I kind of realized it was evil, I got off. I figured everybody's coming with me.
I'm fine with the Facebook ecosystem. You gotta let me know what's your position on this because I actually thank you for it, by the way, because it got me to fix up my background and everything and the webcam. So I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this over Instagram Live. So what's your beef with Zuck?
Yeah, man. I mean, you saw the movie. I know the story. Basically, it's just like he made the site. Basically, it's just like let's like try to get laid or see the hot chicks from school and stuff like that. And then it kind of like got into this huge thing. And even working in mobile games, I was like noticing like strange things about like the advertising, where it's like, oh, you could like really dig into like who you want to advertise on this platform. There's stuff where it's like, there were like laws about like, oh, if you're having like some apartment complex, you can't like advertise just to a certain group of people or whatever. But Facebook allows people to advertise to specific groups of people like that. And it's just like, okay, I don't like these things like competing for these likes and all this stuff. It was kind of just like something was wrong. Then as years and years go on, it's like, okay, all this information is coming out. It just became more and more obvious that it's like a tool for kind of like evil. And it's like you are the product basically, unless you're having a business on there. It's like I'll still buy some Facebook ads, man. Don't get me wrong, I'll use it for a business, but just to have a personal account, it's just like you're the product basically, and they're able to guide what you're thinking and messing with your emotions. It's like they put out the
Mm,
listed leaks and stuff of they do experiments with to try to influence people's emotions, man, and they totally can because it's what you're looking at all the time. What they decide, that first thing that pops up in the feed, it's like I would rather it just be completely time based, basically. Or it's like
right,
yeah,
right.
I was there from the early days, man. Like we do, like Web 2.0 and stuff, Friendster and all that stuff,
Yeah.
social networks. It was like I was there from the early days, but I feel like I just kind of also, dude, that movie, The Social Network, or The Social Dilemma, rather, on Netflix, the documentary
Hmm.
basically goes through all, sums up my point of view better than I can in like an hour or whatever. But it's like, yeah, I don't know how anybody could watch that movie and still be constantly checking that stuff. It's like those algorithms. It's like all the smartest people and the most powerful computers in the world just trying to like influence you through these algorithms and stuff, man. I'd rather not be on there, basically. Um, and then Instagram, it's like, dude, they bought Instagram. Facebook was the number one social network. Then all of a sudden, Instagram was like coming out of nowhere, growing all these users that was going to compete with them. They just bought it up. That shouldn't be allowed in American law. Like forever, we grew up thinking like, yeah, monopolies and stuff. Like you can't just buy up the competition, and they just got away with that. Like fuck that, man. I'm not just keeping an account on there, man.
I respect that. I respect that. Um, two things though. Um, you said, it's fine for business and you understand the business aspects of it, but doesn't doesn't everybody kind of become in this new era their own media business where we're all like getting attention, we're all like, hey, I'm, John from Nashville, Tennessee, and I own this little shop down the way. Come check out my social media. We'll talk and everything. Don't we all kind of become a social media business in this new era?
Yeah, man, sure. But I mean, you could have just check me out on my website or something like that, or a different network, or just there's so many other different places where yeah, everybody is could create content, but why have one monopolistic
I see. I see.
platform type of thing?
Okay.
Yeah,
And I guess the second part of that is, isn't there a lot of good that can be gained? Because, honestly, I try to like I don't post links really to Facebook anymore. And when I go on, I try to I don't even know if I'm one of the problem users for Facebook or whatever, but I go straight to my groups. I have a group for like discussing hero movies. I have a group for discussing art business. I have a group for discussing, black politics, and everything else. It's just like I have these small little groups of anywhere from 5 to 100 people, and it's just a good way to connect with people. So, what about that side of things? Does that it?
no, yeah, you're absolutely right, dude. That is great. It's like technology is kind of letting people connect in completely new ways where you could talk to people about what you're interested in, not just about like what your neighbors are interested in. It's like you could finally connect with people that are on the same level. That's amazing. And yeah, that's the hit that I had to take, man. I'm missing out on all that stuff. It's hard to make friends and keep up with people without that thing, man. Yeah, there's a lot of even times like my therapist will be like, oh, blah, 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 you should, Facebook or Instagram, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, I don't have access to that. That's like a piece part of people's lives. But yeah, no, that I hope that there's other places. There's Discord communities, there's Twitter, there's message boards. But yeah, I just like try to be part of some other smaller communities, man. Like I think Discord is pretty interesting, like how they're handling things. They're just like a small community of like-minded people. It's not like tied to like this big profile or anything like that.
I
But
don't I
yeah,
don't
no,
get discords.
Okay. Oh, damn. Yeah. That's like one of those things where I was on there, like seeing the amount of people joining the whole year. The Snoop, the person you know is online and stuff like that. But yeah, it's I'm definitely missing out, dude, on that social network and stuff. And it's great to be able to talk to those people. And yeah, there's definitely some value in there. That's why so many people are on there. But I just couldn't. I'm too too philosophical, I guess. I'm just too ideological about the just not being able wanting to support them. Basically, um, yeah, that's my story. I'm definitely missing out on some of that social elements. So yeah, if anybody has seen me that hasn't watching this, that hasn't heard from me since I had deleted Facebook, just hit me up on Twitter, man.
No, you're not alone, by the way, and I totally get it. I took a hiatus from Facebook, not for ideological reasons, but it was affecting my spirit in a lot of wrong ways. And I think the way they structured the algorithms at the time, it was for building engagement, and
Oh yeah,
a lot of the engagement was based around negativity because that's easy, right?
yeah,
So it got pretty hard and heavy in there, and I had to step
oh yeah.
back and was like, okay, let me rethink this whole social media thing.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember there was this, like one of the last months I was on there. It's like I posted some comment of like my dad. My dad posted some picture. I like replied or something. Like somebody replies to me in the comments, all caps, no collusion. Like says to with the dude. This is completely ridiculous. It's like I'm not going to get into like defending this how there's collusion with this guy. I'm just trying to like make a comment about to my parents. It was just too much, man. Yeah, it drove drive my anxiety level nuts every time I would go on there. And also, one other thing about Facebook is it causes serious depression for me, man. Like going on there, not only that
yeah.
anxiety of like, oh, these people are attacking me about politics or whatever, but also just like seeing all these happy people and they only filter out like they're having living this perfect life with the perfect lighting and a camera angle and everything. And then I look at my life, I'm like, this is shit. It's like what is going on here in comparison. But it's just like that's how the algorithm and the whole system was made, man. A lot of people, I think, like suffer from depression from like going on there and seeing all these like loudmouth attention seekers going on and on. It's just like, fuck off, man. I'm deleting my account.
You know, I kind of wonder if I'm becoming one of those loudmouth attention seekers. I personally feel I'm coming from a good place on Instagram. I've been trying to make it a more co connected place, but I totally get you. And
Yeah,
I
no,
think
man. I think your posts are totally real and just like people listen to you, and it's not like trying to like show off or anything like that. So yeah, I totally respect what you're doing, man.
I hope so, and, thank you for that. Um, and I am glad though to see all the different outlets people have, whether it's Twitch, Discord, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Um, people are on Roblox. I found a group of Snapchat friends. It's like a group of 10 people, and all they do all day is send snaps to each other. And I'm like, what in the hell is this? People still using Snapchat, and it has its own way of doing things that works for those people. So um it's a strange, fun, interesting world where we're learning how to connect and keep tabs with each other better. So I'm all about doing what's good for you and what you think works, because we're all different, right? So
Yep,
that's that.
yep. Yeah, man. It's just there should be different ways that why it shouldn't be there the thing you go to for photos, for groups, for news, for every single thing. Like there should be different companies doing different things. It's just yeah that idea of yeah that monopoly and stuff. But yeah, like whenever we watched that Ted Kelly talk, man, about how like all things point into the one. It's basically just like it's inevitable that it's like everything is gonna connect into just like one giant thing, basically.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But this has been a pretty good talk, man. I think we covered a lot of ground pretty organically. Um, is there anything else we should be thinking about before we start to wrap
No,
this one?
man. Yeah, thanks for having me on here, man. Yeah, I'll talk anytime about games and the development of the industry and stuff like that to anybody who will listen, basically. And yeah, man, it's a crazy time. Right. Hopefully, people check out these Elysian parables and yeah, man, like, powers of 10 thinking. That's just one of them right there, man. Just think about that. Powers of 10. It's just like that should be something that in people's mind when you're going about designing something. Also, I've got my own one I wanted to point out here that something I realized lately, just for people to think about a quote that there is infinite in the small. Like, even just like a
Mm,
period at the end of a sentence, man, and there's an infinite amount of, like, atoms or ways to look at it, or it's zoomed in on a microscope or all these different things. Every little thing, there's actually infinite in every little thing. So I'll leave people with that, and, yeah, keep an eye on me for my company, be the first to use some of these crazy ideas on the blockchain, man.
so okay, awesome. I like the, infinite and the small. I think there was some philosophers talking about it doesn't matter how far you look out into space and try to see the big picture or how detailed you try to go to look at the finer points. Either way, you're going to be infinitely um you're going to be presented with infinite uh expression and design, create any direction you go into. So I forgot what the philosopher was actually trying to, what point he was trying to get across, but he was just like, hey, everything is amazing no matter which way you look at it. So just jump into whatever you think is amazing and create from there. And
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
I think you're one of the better creative minds I've ever run into in my life. So that's definitely why I
Oh,
wanted to have
wow.
you on
Thanks,
here.
man. That means a lot for to hear that from you, man. I appreciate it, dude. Let's hang out again. Let's collaborate on some crazy projects. Yeah, let's throw some stuff out into the universe and see what gets some energy, man.
Definitely. So where's the best place for people to find you? I usually look you up on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Pixel Ryan on Twitter. I'm just always posting about too much stuff on there, man. And also, if you read my tweets, send me a like, man. What? Don't be so stingy on the likes, dude.
Ryan's out here like farming. Go get your likes up. Yeah, I love it.
Like, you ever talk to people where it's like, "Yo, man, I saw that thing you posted the other day." It's like, "Wait, you saw that? I'm like,
Oh,
you
I
like
see
it?"
what you're saying. Yeah, that is that is the worst. Um, you know what? Really quickly, there's a that's I don't know what that's about, but I think it's a product of so much information and people don't know how to adequately respond to all of the things they're seeing fly by. Because I was talking to somebody and they said, "Hey, I know you've been doing the Instagram live thing. I always watch after the fact. I never watch live. Um, but are you?" It's like, "What happened to you Sunday?" And I was like, "Because I've been doing them every day for a while now." And I was like, "Oh, Sunday? Yeah, I just turned my phone towards my computer monitor and played Burger Time for about an hour." Uh, I didn't think playing Burger Time was worth actually saving, so I deleted that one. And she was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, because I watch your stuff and I really think it's cool and I'm always waiting for the next one." And she's never liked or even responded. So it's interest I get what you're saying. Give the
Yeah,
likes, right?
man. Yeah, man, throw the lights out there, man. Come on. Don't be stuck up.
Oh, that's great.
Alright, man. Yeah, this has been too much fun, man. Let's do another one for my channel, man. Like, I used to do a YouTube show, but it's like, I got, too busy doing other things, but I've still got the channel out there. We should, if you ever wanna chat about anything, hit me up, man.
Absolutely. Whatever you need, Ryan, I'm there for it. Let me know. Whatever platform you want to publish this to, I'm down with it.
Nice. Cool, man. Well, thanks, dude. Let's keep in touch, man.
All right, definitely. Um, well, everybody, thank you for listening in. That was Ryan Dormanesh, aka Pixel Ryan, um, zine collector and design aficionado. Definitely follow him and leave a like, and we'll be back at some other point to talk more awesomeness. Um, Definitely appreciate this is Mr. Benja's ADD Experience Live. Thank you all for joining in. All right,
Peace.
peace.